As we've done all this year, we've had different ones come and share their testimony. It gives us an opportunity to get to know them. Also gives us the opportunity to hear how Jesus is working in somebody else's life. And I'm going to invite Darryll Martin to come up this morning and share his testimony. Darryll has got a great guy, mainly because his last name is Martin, even though we're not related at all that we can find. But I love this man and his wife, and I thank God that he brought him to our congregation. Darryll, share your heart with us.
Well, to go along with the Why series is like, why Darryll? What kind of testimony do I have? I was raised in a preacher's home just like he was. We've been perfect all our lives, so there's nothing more to say, so. I've been going to church 9 months longer than I've been alive. And, but growing up in a preacher's home does not make you perfect. It's probably harder sometimes than it is otherwise. A lot of people don't realize that. They think, they just think, oh, everything's hunky dory, But the family goes through a lot, different things happen, stuff like that, and there's a lot of things you got to deal with. But personally, you still, it's the same thing that we've always been. You can't ride on your daddy's coattail. I can't make it to heaven because my daddy's a preacher. My dad's still alive. He's now retired. He retired at 70. At 75, he said he figured that was long enough to preach, and he just turned 79. But I thank God for the heritage that I have through growing up in the church. Thank God for a godly mom. I still have my mom, and we're still like best friends. In fact, at least once or twice a week, we have coffee together over the phone because she lives in Mississippi. But the godly heritage that they placed in us, it never really goes away. Even though there was 5 of us in our family, 5 kids, and not all of them stayed with the faith, but we still know it's there. It's in there. And but in my case, I used to think. In fact, we had this little discussion yesterday when he asked me about giving our testimony, because at one point in time in my life, I'd sit in the church and I'd see all these different ministers come in, or different guests come in, and they give all these great testimonies about what God saved them from, and all the, some of them like to get into too much detail about where they came from, but you really should spend more detail in what God did for you. But I'd hear all that stuff, and then I would always think, well, man, I don't even have a testimony, because I never really got into all the bad stuff. I thank God that He kept me from the alcohol and from the drugs and from the different things that commonly known as that we just commonly look at as sins of the world. But I always felt like I didn't have a testimony until somebody pointed that out to me. They said, man, we always preach about God's saving grace, but I've been blessed to live under God's keeping grace. He's kept me from all that stuff, and. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I was perfect. I'm a guy, and I do stupid things, and all the women say amen. Yeah, okay. And but there was a point in time in my life. I've always been, from the time I was 13, I started playing the bass. And I've played music in the church straight through for 37 years. Everywhere I've been a musician or a singer, whatever. And but there was a point in time where the biggest problem about being raised in the church is complacency. I think, for me, you get to where you know how to do everything, you know how to go through the motions. You know what everybody expects out of you. So you show up and you put on your church face and your church attitude, and you come in here and you do the things you're supposed to do and all that stuff. But inside, your heart grows cold. I wasn't going to do that either. But but it was when our daughter was just a little girl, and so it's been 30 years ago, but I got so cold in my heart that I had no feeling. I'd go to church, it was just something I was supposed to do because I've done it all my life, and I was always active in the things that I was supposed to do, and of course because of that, things at home wasn't too good, because if there's no feelings for God, there's no feelings for hardly anything else. So there's really no feelings for my wife, and all this stuff. And so we had some issues about all that, and I really got to the point, honestly, that I just didn't care, and I didn't care what happened. It was just like, well, big deal, and that's a horrible place to be. And so I don't think I've ever even told you this, brother, but we were sitting in church one night. It was during a revival service. We were going to a small church down in Houma, Louisiana, and there was a guest speaker there at the revival, and we knew him pretty well. He'd come several times, and at the end of this one service, the church was full. We had I think we had a couple hundred people in there, and at the end of the service, the minister just really, God was just stirring in him to get everybody just to worship, and that's what he just kept saying. He said we just need to worship God for a while, and God was just working on him, doing something in him, and I'm just sitting back there, just watching everybody, and most everybody's worshiping. I mean, and then he said, "Come on, people." He goes, "Raise your hands and worship God." And I don't like people telling me how do I need to worship or what I need to do. So I sat back there and I just, we're all standing, and I just got my hands down, and then he said it again. He said, "Come on, people, raise your hands and worship God." And so I was just about ready to go run to the restroom, and then he called me by name from the pulpit, and he said, "Darryll, raise your hands and worship God." And when he said that, I did like this. And, of course, I kept my eyes closed because I didn't want to look at him, Next thing I know, this is what I felt. He walked down there. I was in the back. The minute he walked down there, grabbed my hands, and lifted them up for me, and God broke me. And basically what that showed me is God didn't care that he had 200 people in the church worshiping him. He wanted me. He wanted Darryll to worship him. And that's the point I want to get across to y'all today. It don't matter who your parents are, who you're sitting next to, how much they're worshiping. I'm behind Tammy, and she's dancing and everything, But God wants you to worship him, and he cares enough about you that if he has to, he'll call you out. And I thank God that man was brave enough to do that. And anyway, so things changed. I mean, I got my heart right with God, and everything. But just to put a little plug in for my wife, if I wouldn't have had a strong woman of faith like her, we wouldn't have made it. And I just thank God for her all the time, and I thank God that he cares enough about us to do that. But anyway, so as time went on, I've always been active in the church, but my heart changed, and it just, when you get a heart change, it just makes all the difference in the world. You can go through the motions and do everything you want to do, but if your heart's not right and your heart's not loving God, and guys, I'm gonna tell you, the young guys, if you're looking for when you're looking for a wife, or if you have a wife now, she's a godly woman. Thank God for her, and we rely on them a lot. So anyway, brother, I think that's really about all I've got. But I thank God for bringing me here.